Hello, Knights. Today is not an easy day. Today we have to teach you how to write equations given word problems. It is not an easy task to do if we were face to face. It's very difficult to do when it is online. So that's why we had our differentiated assessments. Those of you that have done well, we want you to move forward, and we think that you are ready to take on something like this. So let's begin. First things first, let's start off with some key terms. We have the four math operation add, subtract, multiply, and divide. But the other important thing when you're writing equations is, of course, the equal sign. So under each of these are words or concepts that can tell you which operation it means or if it does mean equal. Do write these down on a sheet of paper. It will be helpful. Let me give you an example. For addition, if your equation had addition in it, it would say add, plus, increase, or more. The word combining is just kind of like a concept. If they were combining things together, you would be adding them. If something was increasing, you would be adding them. Same thing for subtraction. We have subtract, minus, decrease, take away, and less. Again, if they're taking something away, then yes, it is subtraction. That could be a concept. If something was decreasing, yes, it would mean subtraction. That also can be a concept. For multiply, we have multiply, times, repeats over and over, of, then a number, double means times two. So let me give you an example, something that repeats over and over again. So if you bought four pencils, the cost of that pencil, let's say, is $1. So you would buy one pencil, one pencil, one pencil, one pencil. This repeats over and over. So you would have your equation be something like 4 times 1. If it repeats over and over again, that means it is multiplication. Next up, a couple of words that mean division would be divide, quotient. Quotient you really wouldn't see too much, but sometimes they do add it in there. Something that is split evenly. So if they talk about splitting something, evenly is the key here, then they're talking about division. And then when they talk about half or cutting something in half, splitting something in half, then that is divide by 2. There are more things that would mean divide by a specific number, but half is very common. Last but not least, we have our equal sign. If you see stuff like words like equal, then yes, you'd write an equal sign. The word is definitely can mean the equal. Something that's in total at the end, something that they have left at the end, something that they ended up with, this all means equal. So these are more concepts, something that you would have to think about, not necessarily keywords that would be there. All right, those are our key terms and our key concepts. So the next thing that we do, best way to learn this, is by doing a couple of examples. For these examples, I do not want you to be writing down all of the question. All I want you to do is to write down the key terms or the key concepts. And remember, the thing that we use to identify important information from a word problem is the process of cubes. So as we're going along, I am thinking of that concept of cubes. And to remind you of what that is, we circle the numbers, underline the question, box key terms, eliminate any unnecessary information, and then we're going to go ahead and solve it. So first things first, let's go ahead and read this. We have Benny bought 8 new Pokemon cards to add to his collection. The next day, his dog ate half of his collection. That's unfortunate. There are now only 39 cards left. How many cards did Benny start with? And it tells us, let P represent the amount of Pokemon cards he started with. Okay, so let's go ahead and identify the important pieces of information. We know that he bought 8 new Pokemon cards. Let me make that just a little bigger. Bought 8 new Pokemon cards. The next day, his dog ate half of his collection. There are now 39 cards left. And then our question, how many cards did Benny start with? And of course, P represents Pokemon cards. Let's go ahead and look at what we said was important. We said that bot 8 was important, and since we are adding or increasing his collection, that means that our operation is addition. So this is plus 8. Next, we're going to look at our other thing that we said was important, half of his collection. Well, I see that word half, so that would be under division of his collection. Well, we know how many cards did Benny start out with. We don't know that answer, so that is our variable P. So we can write this as P over 2. But I also told you that that word of can mean to multiply, right? So another way you can write this if you wanted to, or you can write this as 1/2. The word of means multiply, but we know that when we have a number times a variable, it is multiplication, so we can write this two ways, either P over 2 or 1/2 of P, where P is his collection. So half of his collection or 1/2 of his collection. But you guys really don't like fractions, so I would say the easiest thing to do is to stick with this guy right here. But both would actually work. All right, next up, cards he has left. Well, that's how much he ended up with, has left. So that means, well, that is our equal sign right there. That's our equal guy. And we basically have our equation. So if we start just from left to right, top to bottom, we would have a positive 8 or plus 8, but we don't need the sign in front of it. We would have some type of P over 2 is equal to, that final number was 39. But notice that there is something missing between these two. And again, since he bought 8 new, we know that we're adding, so that should definitely be a plus sign in front of there. But we really don't like this being here, so we would rewrite it so that goes to the front. So another way to write this, and they're equivalent, another way to write it would be P over 2 plus 8 is equal to 39. Now, for this one, we do not have to solve it. We are just practicing writing the equations. And that example is now done. Last example, let's go ahead and read it. On Monday, 464 students went on a trip to the lake. All 9 buses were filled, and 5 students had to travel in cars. How many students were there in each bus? Let S represent the amount of students in each bus. Now that we read it, let's go ahead and identify our important information. For me, this is a little easier, but for you, it might take a little longer. Read it multiple times. I just don't want this video to be too long for you guys. So we have a number, 464 students went on a trip. We have 9 buses were filled. 5 students had to travel in cars. How many students were there in each bus? This one is a little harder because if you notice, none of these key terms are really here. We don't have any of these. So this is definitely a concept problem. So we're going to have to work our way through this kind of thinking about it. So when we talk about 464 students went, this is the in total part. So 464 students went in total. So this tells me that this is going to be equals 464. Next, we know that 9 buses were filled. Well, the 9 buses are filled with the same amount. So for here, This is repeats over and over again, so it is multiplication. So here we know that we're going to have 9 times the number. We don't know how many students are in each bus, so we're going to write that as S. But instead of 9.S, we're going to write just 9S. That's what we're used to. And again, we wrote 9 and we chose multiplication because this number of students repeats over and over again. But not only do we have students driving and riding in the bus, we also have students that are traveling in cars. Well, this is plus, this is adding. Not only do we have the students in the bus, we also, in addition, have those 5 students riding in cars. So this is actually plus 5. And then we know that S stands for the amount of students, and we want to answer the question, how many students were in each bus? So we basically see what we have. Again, going from left to right, we have equals 464. We have that 9 buses were filled, and we also know that 5 more students rode in cars. So here we go, our last equation. Well, I hope this helps, and I'm very sorry if this is still a little confusing. Again, like with everything else, you just need a little practice. This concept is a little harder to do online, so if you feel like you are struggling, just solve the two-step equations. If you feel like you're ready for the challenge, here it is. But if you don't get it, don't be hard on yourself. It's okay. All right, Knights, I'm done for the day, and I hope you have a great one. See you next time. Miss P out.